Good morning, everyone. It is great to see all of you. I'm sorry we aren't in the DeLuca Forum where we could all see each other face to face, but this is going to have to do. We're in a pretty unique world. It's one that none of us have seen before, and a whole lot of things are different, including how we're doing business at the university, both in the educational front and in the research front. There is a lot of adaptation needed. There's a lot of guidance out there, some of it quite complex, that I know many of you have been reading through. If you put the changes that we're going through here at the University of Wisconsin on top of the changes and the stresses that you and many of our faculty, staff, and students are experiencing, their families and their homes, the result is just high levels of anxiety. And, I'm seeing this in messages that I'm getting every day. People are responding with a little more emotion, a little more anger, a little less dispassion than usual. And as leaders around the university and leaders of your units, I suspect that many of you have experienced that as well. And I just want to start by saying there are times when we all just have to take a deep breath for ourselves and for others and say, look, it's a really unique time, and we've got to figure out how we get through this. That said, there's been an extraordinary amount of resilience and creativity across campus. And again, I'm sure many of you have seen this in your unit. Just one example, last spring when we closed down and announced that we were going virtual, there were some faculty who were pretty panicked because they didn't know how to do that. Some of those were in the School of Music, who wondered how in the world they were going to teach piano to students who didn't have pianos in their homes and couldn't come into campus. So they got busy reaching out to alums and to community members, and within 24 hours, they had portable keyboards for every piano student who needed one and continued their piano instruction. Now, I know all of you have stories like this as you've been preparing for the fall. Everyone is doing things that we would have said 6 months ago, can't get that done in the next year. So, anyone who tells you that universities are now adaptable and are too hidebound and can't move fast, I think we proved them wrong. But it has taken a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work to get to where we are. We want to create this opportunity this morning to update you on what we've done since we last met in June, and to give you a chance to ask questions, to make suggestions. You are the leaders on campus who are charged with helping your units operate through this pandemic and into the fall. But things will continue to change as new knowledge comes in about this virus and how it operates. We don't have all the details or all the answers to your questions, and some of the answers may be different a month from now than they are now. But we are working hard to both get to where we need to be and to keep up with the changing science. There is lots of information on the Smart Restart website. If you have not been there and read through that, you really need to do that. It is being updated regularly. Note that we've also started sending a weekly update that almost everyone in this web room should be getting. And we are holding town hall meetings with multiple groups of students, parents, and staff to give them a chance to hear from us and to ask questions as well. So here's what we're doing today. I'm going to make a few overview remarks, and then we're going to have 5-minute presentations from 5 different groups. First group, instructional and classroom issues. That's going to be the provost and vice provost, Steve Kramer. Secondly, second 5 minutes, Norman Drinkwater is going to talk about our testing program. Most of you know Norm. He's our emeritus vice chancellor for research, and he has really been working with everyone to put together the testing protocols for this next fall. Thirdly, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Laurie Reeser, and the Head of University Health Services, Jake Baggett, will talk about our public health issues and efforts and student life on campus. Fourthly, we'll talk about facilities and HR. That will be led by Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, Lauren Heller, Al Fish, the Associate Vice Chancellor in charge of facilities, and Mark Walters, who's in charge of HR. And then discussing the research reboot is Vice Chancellor for Research and Graduate Education, Steve Ackerman. Each of those 5 groups has 5 minutes to share just a few key updates and answer the 2 to 3 most common questions that they are hearing. We are quite committed that this is not going to take more than half of our hour and a half, maybe even a little less, and we will then turn it over to you and spend at least 45 minutes answering questions and responding to your comments. So let me start by just a few comments with a broad overview of where we are. So we are tasked with carrying out our mission here in the midst of a global pandemic where our knowledge about that is evolving weekly. And our primary commitment is to be as open and honest with the community as we navigate these challenges. And, we are going to remain open. We are willing to modify our operations as we learn more and as the science advances. On the research front, we believe it is imperative to keep as much research operating as possible. This is the career of our faculty. As you know, we shut down a substantial share of our labs in March with the uncertainty that was surrounding the pandemic at that time. We are reopening many of them, and our goal is to have most of the labs open by the beginning of September. Other research has resumed as well. All of this is operating somewhat differently with health protocols in place, and there's some types of research, such as certain types of ethnographic or home studies, that simply may not be possible over this period. On the education front, similar to research, we want to run as full a curriculum as possible, and we are doing that, but we're running it in a hybrid manner. And I think all of us here in leadership believe that there is a huge value to providing as much in-person instruction as we think we can do safely. Virtual learning works well in some environments, and it is simply necessary in some cases. We can't teach a 500-person class unless we go to Camp Randall, and we're not going to be doing that in November. But many types of learning are better off face-to-face, and that is why we're trying to offer as many smaller classes face-to-face, albeit physically distanced and masked, as possible. And as you know, a good part of the student experience here at UW happens outside the classroom. There will not be as many events, as many student organizations meeting this year as in the past, but having students on campus, even if most of their interactions are in smaller groups, is valuable. It allows students to meet others from different backgrounds, from different countries. It allows them to have some of those intense one-on-one conversations with peers, exploring beliefs and exploring their career thoughts. It gives them a sense of being part of this institution. And I will note, even if we were not operating with any in-person classes, we believe we would have a substantial majority of our students here in Madison in any circumstance. Our graduate students largely live here, and among our undergraduates, many of them, as last spring, are continuing to take up their housing contract and will be here. And we think it's better, if they're going to be here, that we are actually running testing, interacting with them, messaging to them about masking and health protocols. So, we are pretty committed to this hybrid model and are, think that we have things set up in a way that will make it work. Key elements of what this fall is going to look like, you all know this: widely available COVID testing with targeted testing for some groups, universal mask wearing in all indoor spaces and where physical distancing is not possible, physical distancing in all classrooms and office spaces, measures to reduce overall campus density. We're going online as of Thanksgiving, so the last 2 weeks of the semester will be online, and we will be regularly releasing a dashboard of COVID information here on campus on a weekly basis. We have a huge team of people who have been working all summer on all of these issues, and we all owe, I particularly owe, a great debt of gratitude, not just to the leaders you're going to hear from this morning, but to everyone in all the groups, and it is literally hundreds of people who have been working on this. And I can tell you, as someone who usually works pretty long hours, the last 4 months for myself and my senior team have been as long, as intense as anything I've experienced in my life. We are on this and we are working on it. We need your help. We need your assistance, but we're going to get there. I get to answer questions. Let me answer 2 questions that I hear. Number 1, why are you comfortable bringing students back to campus when you closed everything down last March when we had fewer cases in town than we do now? Last March, we knew nothing about this virus. Since then, we've learned a whole lot. We know something about how it spreads, about the risks faced by different groups and individuals, how effective different strategies are for preventing spread, and how to effectively treat those who become seriously ill. Our testing has also improved. We continue to learn more every day, and we are following that science. But it is the knowledge that we have gained that makes us ready to return to some on-campus presence with the health and testing protocols firmly in place. We're not alone in this judgment. Most of our big public peer schools are making similar plans. Question number 2, how would we decide if we needed to shut down? We will close down if we see uncontrolled outbreaks of COVID on campus that are mushrooming rather than being contained. Given our testing plans, we are going to be in a very strong position to know precisely what levels of virus are prevalent on campus, and we will be closely watching a number of key metrics, including such things as the results of our campus testing, our surveillance testing, the availability of quarantine and isolation spaces, the supply chains for our testing supplies, along with local prevalence in the community and local hospital capacity. Like the City of Madison, like Dane County, we do not have a single criterion above or below which we're going to make a rollback or a shutdown decision. That decision involves both quantitative and qualitative aspects of judgment. But we will assess current levels of transmission and information flowing from all of our different sources on a regular basis, and are quite committed to understanding that there are points at which we say we are going to have to change gears. We may, under certain circumstances, have to pivot to far fewer in-person classes or even go back to completely online. I very much hope that doesn't happen, but I think we have the information in place that will tell us if and when we should have to do that.